In the El Chapo trial, former cartel member Jorge Cifuentes took the stand for a second day and accused two armed forces of corruption. The witness directly tied Joaquin El Chapo Guzman to the drug cartel operations. According to witnesses, the drug lord paid the Ecuadorian army large amounts of money to transport cocaine using army vehicles.
He said that the army allowed El Chapo to move cocaine through international waters unchecked. Cifuentes also said a Colombian Navy intelligence officer gave him a USB with information the United States and Colombia had collected about El Chapo's operations. So, joining me now is criminal defense lawyer and former prosecutor Vinoo Varghese. Vinoo, you've been following this case for us. So now, I mean, it's always been interesting, but now we hear some answers to questions that we've been asking. How can you move all this cocaine, without some sort of cooperation from the powers that be? And he's alleging that, there was a lot of cooperation. All right. So the witness mentioned El Chapo bribing army forces twice. Is that the type of testimony that the prosecution really needs?
Well, I think it goes to show the extent of this operation because, the jurors, there are these going to be missing holes, right?
Yeah.
So the jurors are going to be, or I should say holes that need to be filled, right? So jurors are going to be wondering, how did this all get through?
That's what we were saying. How do you have a train full of cocaine traveling? Someone's got to be signing off on it. Yeah.
Right. So you have here the stories of the payments to the Ecuadorian army captain, with paying him $10 million to help with starting with boats off Peru and going through Ecuador. And because he said army trucks aren't going to be searched. And then you have the story about the Colombian naval officer who provided information. But the interesting thing about that is they tried to bribe, but apparently it was too late. The information had already gotten away. It was too late to stop the operation against El Chapo. That's what this guy Cifuentes is testifying to.
So the witness also testified to the type of boss El Chapo was. What kind of boss was he?
Well, I think one of the things he said was he wouldn't touch drugs. At one point, there was a testimony about a joint being offered him, and he says it doesn't do anything for me.
Isn't that the first rule of dealing?
Yeah.
Don't use your own stash.
Yeah.
Right?
Don't dabble in the merchandise.
That's right.
Right. And it looked like he was disciplined. And apparently, there have been some stories about that. Even when things were lost, cocaine was lost, as long as people were honest with him about it, he didn't punish the people who lost the cocaine and there's stories of this emerging. But one of the interesting things, and
drug dealer with a heart of gold.
Well, certainly with golden revolvers and trains and planes. And so the testimony about the trains is actually interesting because apparently this all stemmed. There was a route taken and the trains that you guys discussed a little bit about before, but it was all stemmed from his love of trains But the interesting thing, I think one of the most interesting things is what the government is trying to keep out here. So there's the talk about the Operation Fast and Furious operation where the ATF was basically, it's the accusation or the allegation is that they gave money to Sinaloa, they gave guns to Sinaloa cartel to try to clamp down on other cartels. And there's a meeting, the Justice Department has acknowledged meetings between one of El Chapo's lieutenants, and the DEA, but they haven't confirmed that. So the prosecution has filed a motion trying to eliminate any reference to Operation Fast and Furious. And this whole thing, is a lot of movie references. There's a movie, Clint Eastwood's movie coming out tomorrow about the drug mule.
The mule, yeah.
And so, it's like actors, Vin Diesel, The Rock, Clint Eastwood, they're all it's all this stuff relating to El Chapo.
Yeah, really. But the truth of the matter is to run a cartel or to sell drugs, it's a dirty, dirty business. There are murders. I sort of felt bad sort of cracking a little joke because the truth of the matter is that many, many lives have been ruined by this. And now we're hearing that there may be cooperation with some elements of the military. Is there going to be further fallout, do you think?
Well, there has been. I mean, there was an ATF agent who testified that members of the Sinaloa cartel knew about this and gave reports to Vice News, for example, had reported on this in 2016 when this stuff had come out even earlier. So, yeah, there's going to be fallout, but I think a lot of it is really the government is trying to keep this out, but I don't know how they do that because now they're going to be talking about guns that were part of this operation, but they're saying they were not gone to Mexico. Well, then how do you limit what happened in Mexico? Right? So in essence, there's a whole expression, right? Once you open the door, you open the door. And so they want to open the door and talk about what they want to talk about, but not allow the whole operation to come out.
Like you said, there's holes in the story, so you got to fill those holes, right?
Indeed. Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, Vinoo. Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Sure.